Cities are defined by their cultures. Those cultures could entail sports or business or certainly arts and entertainment. Oklahoma City is thriving in all of these areas. But who makes that all happen? This Town OKC explores the people behind the cultures, their origins, their motivations, their challenges, and their dreams. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. I've been in this town for over 50 years with a front row seat to seeing the culture grow from a dusty bus stop on the Southern Plains to a flourishing destination. Join me as we meet the folks behind the culture on This Town OKC. Terry Veal, here's what I think I know about you. You were in the service.
Yes.
Navy, was it?
Yes.
Okay. And I know you went to UCO because you were in school about the time I was?
Central State.
Yes.
Central State.
Central State
Then
University.
UCO, yes.
Now the University of Central Oklahoma.
Right.
And I know that you've done a lot of theater. And I know that we first worked together at Oklahoma Children's Theater when you played the role of Tommy Trooper in a play I wrote for them called Under the Christmas Tree.
Right.
The bumbling Army soldier.
Yes, yes. And that was the wonderful thing about children's theater. You know, you got to be rats and animals, all kinds of animals and fun characters like that. And I loved children's theater.
Yeah.
I loved it.
So, since This Town OKC is primarily an oral history of the people behind the culture, let's start with where you're from.
Well, I'm originally from Norman, born and bred. Yes, I'm a Sooner fan. You have to be. My grandmother, who I spent Saturdays with mostly because both my parents had to work, and she lived like 2 blocks from the stadium. So,
Wow, kind of hard to miss.
Right. So I grew up in Norman, and of course, back then, the only theater really they had was the university.
Right.
And so I, during the summer, since both my parents worked, they were always trying to find things for me to do, my brothers and me. And baseball just really, let's just say I wasn't very good at it.
I understand.
And so my mom saw that they were doing some theater classes out at OU in the summer, and she signed me up, and been doing it ever since the 5th grade. So
okay, I was going to ask how old were you when you got started?
5th grade.
So that's what, 10?
10, 11.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I love it.
So you went to Norman High School?
Went to Norman High School. Not some of my most favorite years to think back on. I'll just put it that way. And after I graduated, I thought, well, I'll go to OU like everybody else in Norman did, and hated it. I wasn't the most outgoing person in the world.
But you did attend OU for how long?
For about 2 semesters. And then I just decided to not go anymore. And I didn't tell my parents. And I don't know if I should tell this story. But my mom, of course, at that time, we had the draft for the war.
And that was the Vietnam War.
The Vietnam War. And, of course, while I was in school, everything was great. And so, thank heaven, my mom had a friend at the draft board. Got a call one day, said, you might ought to get your son back in school. He's getting ready to get drafted because my number was like 33 or something.
Mine was 48.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so big confrontational scene, and the decision was my brother joined the Navy and had really he liked it.
Older brother?
Older brother. I have 2 older brothers and a younger brother. And he liked it, and I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And so that's how I joined the Navy.
And you were stationed where?
Well, I went to boot camp in Orlando, which it was in March, April, May, and it was so hot and, Florida weather.
Sure.
Then, you take a battery of tests, to what are you good at?
Yeah.
And apparently, my first choice was medic, which means basically I would have been shipped to Vietnam immediately, and who knows if I would be here today. So my second choice was dental technician. Cushy, 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 cushy. So I went to dental tech school in San Diego for 6 months. Loved it. It's beautiful. And then I got stationed at NTC Bainbridge, Maryland, which at the time was the WAVE boot camp. So
what a tough gig.
Well, yeah, it was rough. And the first stop they made on their rounds of places to go was the dental clinic. And so they would come through and, she looks, I'd like to get to know her, or maybe, and all of a sudden these young ladies had all these dental problems. And we would make them appointments and get them pizzas and treat them nice. But the saving grace was they had a little theater on base.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I got involved with that, and I think truly that was the thing that got me through those 4 years in the Navy.
Were you there the whole time?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, they looked at me and said, "Don't put him on a ship, please." But what was nice about it was about maybe 2 hours to Washington and about 3 hours to New York. And so I had a friend, we did several shows together, and he lived out in Roselle, New Jersey, just outside of New York, just across the river. And he said, "Come on up, on the weekends." And so that's how I got to New York.
And so you're what, 19, 20, 21?
Let's see, that was 1970, so I was 20.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then got out when I was 24. And, my mom wasn't doing well, and my grandmother was, of course, getting on in age. And I came back here and tried school again. And
back at OU?
No, Rose State.
Oh.
Sorry, Oscar Rose Junior College.
Right.
And Jeannie Cooper was head of the theater department.
Oh, I didn't know.
And that's when I first met her. And, she was just an incredible teacher and was very encouraging. And I consider myself a late bloomer. It took me a while to figure out what I was supposed to do or where I was supposed to be. And so I had lots of ups and downs along the way.
Sure, yeah.
And fortunately, I found someone who would stand by me and stay with me through all those ups and downs, and that was Marilyn. And we just celebrated our 48th wedding anniversary.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like I said, she's put up with lots of ups and downs.
Qualified for sainthood at this
point. I would vote for that. Yeah.
Okay, so what got you to CSU in Edmond then?
Well, after I completed Rose State, then a friend of mine and I decided to, we wanted to go on. And of course, UCO was the closest. And so we went up and enrolled up there and finished our degree up there. Of course, back then it was more, it's not like it is today. It was more a communications degree
Right.
with a kind of an emphasis on theater education.
The degree was actually oral communication dash
Yes.
theater or broadcast. I was broadcasting.
Yeah.
You
They were all incorporated.
debate.
Yeah. And Dr. Norman.
Barbara Norman, yes.
Was there, a lovely lady.
Oh, yes.
She was so encouraging and so nice to me. And we had Dr. Hicks, who I believe was
yes.
Dr. Hicks, loved cranky old man. I can say that because I'm a cranky old man. But and Dr. Bristow,
Right.
were
Who was Mr. Bristow back then?
he had just gotten his doctorate.
Wow.
When I was there.
All right.
And he was, I think he did his thesis on Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And I was very proud of that, as he should be.
Yeah.
But Dr. Hicks was head of the department at that time. And, got through all the classes. And we had to take education classes to complete the course requirement.
Because the university was originally Oklahoma Teachers College.
Exactly.
So everything was geared toward education.
Right. And it's changed quite a bit since then. Greg White, I've known him since he was like 12. We did shows up at Edmond Community Theater.
And Greg is in charge of the musical theater
department. He's in charge of the
department.
musical theater department. And again, a terrific young man. And but like you say, it was all aimed at education. But we still did our shows, and I did several shows, a couple of musicals, which I still don't understand why people cast me in musicals, because I keep telling them I don't feel like I'm a singer. So I say I'm a character singer.
There you go.
And so
a wide range of sins.
And then after graduation, again, kind of floated around, tried different things.
In what year did you graduate?
Oh gosh. Let's see, Marilyn, I remember, I think 83.
Okay.
Maybe.
So I can place this. You were taking classes there. You were finishing your degree while I was working on campus. I ran the TV studio.
Oh, okay.
And I remembered you and Ellen Baird and some others from that group of because I used to go to all the plays.
Right, sure.
Just because they were, there was theater on campus.
Ellen was coming into the program just as I was getting ready to head out. Mm-hmm. I mean, we crossed paths, but it wasn't like a couple of years or anything.
Right.
So, but Gene Welfare and Scott Gordon, Kelly Morris, Christy Knight, Chip Birch.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, I kept reminding them that, you guys, you're about 10 years younger than I am. But they accepted me.
Yeah.
And it was a really terrific group of folks.
So memorable roles that you did.
Oh, in college or just anywhere?
In college. We're still in college.
Wow. Well, I did Snoopy in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And Barbara Berard was the choreographer. And again, it's like, I'm not a dancer. And so, but she worked with me, and I think I did a pretty good job with that. In college, I did Stop the World, another musical, Stop the World. I Want to Get Off. Interesting. Again, me feeling not being a great singer. And, of course, Little Chap is in every scene. I mean, it's great music, great music. So we got our review, and there it was. Good actor, not a great singer, but a good actor, and he did okay. I thought, well, okay. But that was fun. Bedroom Farce was also a good show. I was only there 2 years, and so they didn't do as many shows as they do now. So, but Mad Woman of Shiloh, Dr. Bristow directed that one, and
seem to recall seeing that one.
Well, it's an interesting show, but the townspeople would bring these gifts to the Mad Woman, and some of us had to go down into the pit underneath the stage, and we're all down there listening to this dialogue. And one of the lines is, "I bring you these melons." And we're all just dying laughing. We hope we didn't get hurt. But the guy who did it, he would always hold them, appropriately. And we're just down there just dying. But it was a good experience. I learned a lot. One of the things I learned from Dr. Bristow, he said, "Terry, don't be afraid of silence on stage."
Good point.
And I thought, he said, as long as something's happening, whether you're feeling something or don't be afraid to take those moments. And of course, now I use moments, that word, all the time. And when I direct a show, actors go, "Okay, yes, it's a moment. I get it." But that was one of the things that's always stayed with me. Don't be afraid of silence on stage, as long as something's happening. So
after college, and anything before children's theater?
Well, that's what was one of those down times. And
how did you get to children's theater? Let's just jump in.
That's good. We had our daughter, Addie, and
yes.
I was kind of in between things, and I was staying at home with her and, being a Mr. Mom, back when it was,
very unique.
Very unique. And a friend of mine was in a show out at Children's Theater. This was when it was out at OCC, CCC.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, OC and the Seven Cs. That's how you call it.
Formerly known as South Oklahoma City Junior College.
Yes. And so we thought, well, we'll take my daughter, Addie, to go see the show. And I was talking to my friend after the show, and I said, if you need anybody, my mother-in-law lives just around the block, and if I could be gone for a couple of hours in the morning or in the afternoons or whatever, if you need someone. And so about a week later, I got a call, and they were moving over to City Arts, and their first show was going to be in the old planetarium.
Ooh.
And they said, would you like to?
Now, weren't they at Stage Center before?
Yes. Originally, that's where it started. Lynn Adams started it at Theater Center.
Yes.
Then it moved, I guess when Theater Center closed, it moved to OCCCC. And then they moved to City Arts on the fairgrounds.
Right.
And they were there for many, many years. And some of the best times, golly. Then they asked me to be on staff.
Yeah, in the company.
And I said, well, yeah, talk to Marilyn. She says, of course. And so I was on staff there for 6 years, I think it was. And towards the end, Lynn made me artistic director and in charge of touring and things like that. And what was really, really terrific was that it wasn't a company, because we kept bringing in, different people, but we kind of had a a group. It was Alan Bronner, Cheryl Martin, Kelly Rhea, who was also on staff there.
Right.
And Lisa Adams Fox would come in and do some shows. And we'd bring other people in, but it was kind of a core group there for a while. And what was really great is that Lynn allowed us to write our own shows. And so we got to do a lot of fun stuff. My first show I wrote for them was called The Three Bears, a 40s Fable. And Baby Bear had gone off to the war, had met Goldie at a USO show. She disappeared. He got out of the army, was trying to find her. And
how inventive.
It was very fun. Good memory. But we wrote all of our shows. And that made I felt unique.
Yeah.
And but then my daughter was getting older, and at that time the benefits at Children's Theater weren't great. I mean, for the time, I guess they were. But I was worried. I need to think about college And I had a friend who did some acting and stage managed for me, Bob Cross.
Yes, I remember Bob. Yeah,
and he was he was a mailman, and his route was out in Choctaw, and he delivered mail to the administration building, and knew the superintendent. So he was talking to him one day, and the superintendent said, we're looking for a drama teacher. I know you've done some acting. Do you know anybody? And Bob mentioned it to me, and it was a hard decision because I love children's theater. I love it.
Yeah.
But I just needed some, retirement
more,
benefit,
exactly.
Things like that. And so I went, and
no, I don't think I was ever aware of you going out to Choctaw.
Yeah, I was there for 5 years.
Okay, in Choctaw High School?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and made some great, again, I've just been so fortunate, Rick. Made some great friends. The staff accepted me immediately. The kids, not so much, but I think I won them over. And, it turned out, it worked really well. I remember when I went in to apply for the job, the principal said, we're on block schedule. Of course, I had no idea what block schedule was. I said, and he says, yeah, we have the classes for 55 minutes, and you have 4 a day. I said, oh, great, that would be work on scenes. And so my lesson plans, they were perfection. They were perfection, even if I do say so myself. I thought, man, this will take me through the whole period. So about 45 minutes or 40 minutes into the class, it was like, I've covered everything, because I was nervous, and so everything was much faster than. Yes. And then I thought, theater games. Okay, we're going to play theater games today.
Yeah.
So, which are very valuable. Don't get me wrong.
They are.
They are very valuable. And so, but I learned to take it a little.
Slow down a bit.
Slow down a bit.
Enjoy the moments.
And then what happened was they had a bond issue to build the new Performing Arts Center. And, of course, they have it now, but it didn't pass. It missed by like 60 votes.
Okay.
And the music teacher and I kind of looked at each other as, well, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. We were kind of down. And then a friend called me and said, Terry, they're looking for an instructor at Classen School of Advanced Studies. And I'd heard about it, knew about it, always thought, golly, that would be great. And said, yeah, they're looking for a new instructor for the high school, and I want you to come apply. And I did. And again, got it.
Providence smiled on you.
Well, and I was at Classen for 15 years.
Yeah.
Before I retired.
And made a huge impact on the lives of a lot of students.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. I was very fortunate there because 99% of the kids wanted to be there.
Yes.
In that program.
Well, you had to apply to get in.
You had to apply to get in.
There was nothing automatic about
your grades had to be at a certain level.
And you had to declare a major.
And you had to declare, yeah. And so I felt very fortunate. And I had the gentleman that was in the middle school was very knowledgeable. And it took us a little bit to get clicking, but that's just part of it. That's just part of the process.
even here at Carpenter Square Theatre, where we are recording this podcast in the rehearsal studio, just in the year and a half that the theater has been open in this new location, we've enjoyed the benefit of a couple of your former students in shows here.
Yes, oh yes, and
who are grown up now.
Yes, they are, and having children, no grandchildren yet.
Well, that's good.
And so
I have a student who recently retired, a former student who recently retired. Boy, that'll make you feel old.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for that one yet. But we always told the kids, we always told them, we said, now, probably most of you won't go on into this field. But because you're here and in our program, we're going to treat you like you are going to go on into this field. And so we try to give them just touch on everything that would be available to them. And, theater history, directing, auditioning,
stagecraft,
dramaturgy, stagecraft, lighting, everything.
Everything,
you name it. And so that if you do go into this and you walk into a class and a theater class, and you at least will have some idea. Of course, they're going to give you even more, but at least you'll have some idea. It's like me walking into my theater history class at OU when and it was like, what? Huh? I mean, just it was
Shakespeare. Who?
Yeah. Well, I got Shakespeare, but it's all this other, and it's like, oh, well. So we had a theater history class, which was one of my favorites, and we read We made them read plays and discuss plays, and then of course all the shows that we put up and they performed in, and so I felt by the time they got out, even if they didn't go on into the field, they would be supportive and know what it takes to do a show and theater and music. And, Classen was very, very special. It's very special.
So you retired from Classen School of Advanced Studies how many years ago?
Oh, gosh. 10.
Really? Has it been that long?
It was yay.
Okay. And since then, you have performed or directed at several theaters in town.
Yeah. The show I'm getting ready to direct at Carpenter, Women for a Certain Age, one of the ladies has a line. She goes, "I'm not retired. I'm semi-retired," and I feel that way,
right? Because
I have been busy. When I retired, I told Ellen Baird, who was artistic director at Children's Theater. I said, keep me busy. If you need me, I'd love to come back and do some stuff. And of course she did.
I understand you did a lot of touring.
I did a lot of touring, and I loved it. I loved going to those small towns all throughout Oklahoma.
Right.
And
they've made a big deal out of hitting every county in the state.
Yes, and just the looks, because a lot of those kids they don't get anything like that, and so just to see their faces, and I mean it was. They just look at you like you're a rock star.
Exactly.
And that was kind of nice for the ego. But
They get your autograph after the show?
well, no, but well, a couple of them did.
I'm sure a few did.
But the 3-hour van tours were starting to weigh a little heavy on the old body. And as much as I hated to give it up, I finally thought, no, it's time. Let some of these young folks
Right.
hit all those bumps. And but Ellen kept me busy with that. Plus, I directed several shows for them, and hopefully Molly, who's in charge now,
And Molly's Lynn Adams'
daughter, who I knew.
In diapers.
No, I knew before even then.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, you knew her when she was in vitro.
Yes. Yeah. So that's how long I've known Lynn. And that's the thing. I had auditions this past weekend, and 2/3 of the people, there were some new faces, which were great. I always love to see new faces. But most of them, I've known for 30
done
years.
shows with, yeah.
I know how they work. I know what they can do, and they're all wonderful. And so it goes, just how does it all work for the best,
Right.
But, being around this long in Oklahoma City theater,
What are some of the other theater companies you've worked in?
oh, gosh.
I know you've done some work at Jewel Box.
Well, I auditioned for Pollard when they first started.
Oh, really?
Yes, I didn't get in. I was quick story. I was waiting out in the lobby for my turn to go in and do my monologues, and you had to do a song. And just before I went in, the wonderfully incredible Jim Ong
Yes.
was auditioning.
Yes.
And he finished his monologues, and all of a sudden I'm hearing this song, and it was the theme song from Flipper. And I peeked in, and I'm just rolling on. He was so wonderful. And I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to follow that. And of course, he got in.
Yes, he did, and was there for many years.
For many, many, many years. I
think he played every role in Christmas, territorial Christmas Carol, except for Tiny Tim.
Yes. But then later in the season, they called me and wanted me to come up and do a show. I guess they still had my resume, and I thought, well, yeah. And that's when I first got to know Brenda Williams really, really well.
Oh, yeah. What was the show?
Little Mary Sunshine, another musical. And it was an interesting show. It was a lot of fun. It's like the Canadian Mounties, and it's like the Dudley Do-Right kind of thing. And there was this one scene where the girls got in these swings, and they would swing out over towards the audience and back, and I got put in charge of putting the swings down, flying them in, and making sure they were locked, which I just scared me because I thought, if it doesn't get locked, they're going to be flying out into the audience. But we made it. So Pollard, I got to do with one show at Lyric way, 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 way back in the day, right after I graduated from college.
Which show was that?
Promises.
Oh, really?
With the one and only Kristin Chenowith.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, and even then, I think she was like 19, 20. And even then, she could blow the doors off the back of the auditorium. It's just incredible.
Well, and she was about that age when she did Chorus Line for Carpenter Square.
Yeah, it was right around that time.
She was in school.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And so But I haven't been able to get back to Lyric, so that's okay. Of course, Jewel Box, and really most of them. I directed quite a bit out at Yukon Stage Door and did some shows out there.
Okay.
Edmond Community Theater when they first had their. I've done a few things for Rhythmically Speaking, which is Dewey Williams' company. And
which goes back to the old City Arts Center.
Which goes back to the City Arts Center and Children's Theater. And I've done a few things for Cheryl Martin at Storyworks in Norman. And Reduction. I got to do cabaret with them, which was I got to play opposite Alan Baird, and that was always such a great moment.
Which role?
Herr Schultz. I got to sing the Pineapple Song.
More singing.
Yeah, and then I got to direct Cat on a Hot Tin Roof for them.
Ooh.
I have done one show with Oklahoma Shakespeare in the Park.
Which was?
It was, Merry Wives of Windsor. Brenda Williams directed it.
Oh, yeah.
And she had placed it in a 50s sitcom, kind of Lucy Desi kind of thing.
I missed that one. I'm sorry I
missed that.
Well,
it's right after they moved from Hafer Park and they were on campus there at UCO.
Okay.
For a couple of shows before they moved to their next spot. And that was and that's the only Shakespearean show I've done other than Scenes and Things. And I was so excited. I thought, finally I get to say the bard's lines. And I played this little French doctor. But it was so much. It was very fun. Great cast. Nice group of people. Just about everybody. Ghostlight, when Ghostlight was, I did a show with them. And, I like I say, I've been fortunate.
Well, I know you've been a mainstay at Carpenter Square Theatre for a long time, and we're so grateful.
Well, thank you. Since the first season.
Really?
Yeah, there's still a few of us. Rhonda, Vicky, me.
Vicky Seimer. Rhonda Clark.
Who, I'm trying to think of some others, did a show there that the first season. I was in the last show of the first season, Cloud 9. And interesting piece. Yeah. But I remember we had like 4 in the audience one night. It might have been a matinee.
Yeah.
And we did the show.
Of course.
But they were so appreciative.
Yes.
I mean, they just said, I know you didn't have to do this, but we really, and you all were, and then they went on and on.
I can't tell you how many times I have been the audience for a play. Way back in the old days, the street players.
Oh, yeah.
Would come up and play, the little theater at the Civic Center, and I would be the audience. And I would tell them, you don't have to do the show. I'm happy. You can keep the money. And they did it every time.
And they were the best audience.
Yeah.
They laughed at all the right places, and they were wonderful. So,
So you have traveled with Carpenter Square's journey from location to location.
Yes, I have.
And what I'm getting to is during the COVID years, the COVID year, I should say, the year of people being locked in at home, Carpenter Square was in between locations.
Right.
COVID shut down the last show.
Which I had directed.
Oh.
It was the library.
The library, yes. Mm-hmm. Very nice show.
Oh, thank you.
And I think we finished the run because there were just 1 or 2 performances after.
No, we finished the run.
Yeah.
We closed the show, and the next day, everything shut down.
But as I recall, the last couple of performances were very small houses.
Well, because people were
because
scared.
It was a few days prior to that when the basketball team came and the world shut down that night. And during that time, we were also starting to renovate the building we're now in, and that took longer than we ever expected. And so there was a period of time when we didn't really have a place or the means to put on a show.
Right.
So we did radio plays at RK1 Studios, which was over near Scissortail Park.
Well, I love the radio plays, and the ones we did, it was the best time. I loved them.
One of the things I really appreciated, and this is where I really came to appreciate your range of talent, was the variety of roles that you did in the, I think you may have been in like 8 of the 12 shows that we did.
I think I was in almost all, maybe 1 or 2. Yeah.
And so you don't have the benefit of hearing this right now, but the listeners to this podcast, listen to this.
Okay, come on, you. He wants to see you.
How many did you bump off today?
Shut up.
Now, listen to my joke. I say to you, good news, Gracie. I won today at Santa Anita, and you say, really? What jockey was riding you?
Yeah, George. He says the coast is clear for tonight. There should be only one light visible from the street.
Hello there, daughter. Put that racing form away, Johnny. Save your rent money, son. You can't beat the ponies. You were one. Eve Harrington is another.
I take it she read well.
It wasn't a reading. It was something made of fire and music. Brilliant, vivid, unforgettable.
How nice.
In time, she'll be what you are. You should be quite comfortable here, Mr. Gillis.
Uh-huh. Whose room was this?
It was the room of the husband, or the husbands, I should say. Madam has been married 3 times.
Ah.
I'd better press your evening clothes, sir. Mr. Gillis has not forgotten Madam's New Year's Eve party.
That was about a minute of Terry Veal's range of characters in the CST Live Online productions that we did from RK1 Studios live on YouTube. We did a Friday night and a Saturday night live, so there was that live TV element. Actors in costumes, period microphones. It was as close to a live old-time radio experience as one can get these days.
It really was.
And so I when you finally listen to this, I hope you do listen to it so that you can hear this minute-long montage of clips from those days.
Well, I grew up watching cartoons, Mel Blanc, and all the voices that he did, and and I actually remember listening to some of the radio plays, and what's great about radio is, although they could see the performance, but with radio you can be anything.
Exactly.
You can do I can be a 6-foot soldier in the army.
Yeah.
I can be a 6-year-old kid.
Exactly.
So that's what's so wonderful about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's trite to say theater of the mind, but boy, it's so descriptive.
Exactly.
That's exactly it.
And again, very fortunate to have all the casts were at. They were just top notch.
I thought Rhonda gathered, the A-list of folks in town,
and fun to do. And like I said, I would love to see, maybe an evening of radio plays.
I would love for us to figure out how we can recreate that here at Carpenter Square.
I think
we have the space, we have the technology, we have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's just coordinating,
in between shows.
Together. Yeah,
it's tough when the theater puts on 8 shows a season.
Yes, but I'm glad that we've gone to 3 weeks.
Yes,
to give us a little more time in between, to give us some breathing room.
Oh gosh,
and because I know we're doing. a weekend with the Jewish Theater Company.
Coming up.
And I just worked with them, and they were terrific to work with.
That's right, the Diary of Anne Frank.
And then
that was a great production.
It was very meaningful to me to do that show, especially in this day and age.
Exactly.
And then we did a Reader's Theater with Crossing Delancey, and it really enjoyed working with them. And then Best in 10 is the next weekend.
The 10-minute play festival.
Yes, and and I've always that came in. I have to take a little credit. That came into being when I was president of the board.
Oh, really? Okay. I have never heard how this came into.
Yeah, I was president. I actually was president. I don't know why I was president of the board, because compared to what you have done, Rick, which there's a place in theater heaven for you.
I hope it's on row D.
Center.
Yes.
No obstruction. We were at Stage Center at the time.
12, 13 years, something like that.
And so I was president for a couple of years, but we were trying to figure out, we wanted to acknowledge people for their contributions to the theater, but then we wanted to try to do an outreach thing. That's when we started doing the shows for the student matinees.
Oh, okay.
That also came into being during that, but we wanted to try to incorporate, more, and so we kind of put the two of them together, and it's been doing it ever since.
Thanks for dreaming that up. Did you ever do a play on the water stage when Carpenter Square was doing like a couple of shows a summer on the water stage?
Did I ever do water stage? The hottest place on earth.
Were you in Funny Floats?
I was in Funny Floats.
I saw that.
Yes.
That was with our friend Kathleen Hope.
That was with Kathleen Hope. And then that turned into Everybody and Their Dog.
Right.
And we did several years down at the water stage. And I directed Thurber Carnival down there one year. And if it hadn't been so hot, it would be an absolutely wonderful experience.
Yes.
But even then, doing improv scares me to death. It's like,
as well it should.
Yeah, it's like doing the tight rope without a net. But again, I just a great group of folks. Sue Ellen Ryman, Brenda Williams, Kelly Rhea, Kelly Morris. Oh, who am I leaving out? Cheryl Martin, Shane McClure came in, Alan Bronner, and such a great group of people. And we would write little skits and then do some improv. They started getting more into long form,
right?
Which was hard for my old brain to keep track of things. But the short forms, the games, I enjoyed so much. And then, yes, definitely did the water stage.
Yeah, I did one play down there, Boy Meets Girl.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was a lot of fun, but gosh, was it hot.
It was so hot. It was so hot.
Oh, nothing like playing on a big slab of concrete in August.
In 112-degree weather, yeah.
No shade.
But I wouldn't, no regrets.
Yeah.
No regrets.
I think we've come to the end of our time together. Anything you want to leave us with?
No. I was doing a show here at Carpenter, and Lee Hicks, little Lee, he was directing. It was called House of Blue Leaves.
Oh, yes.
And it's a dark comedy, and it turns very dark at the end. And I was very nervous because I had never done anything like this show before. And I think it was like the first time I ever had like a lead too. And it was way back when we were at Main and Hudson.
Right.
And I was supposed to enter from the back of the house. He was a zookeeper who wanted to be a songwriter. And I was downstairs, you
Right,
downstairs
the old
waiting.
basement.
The old basement. And he came down and tell me break a leg. And I asked him, I said, Dr. Hicks, do you think they'll like it? And he goes, yeah, Terry, doesn't matter whether they like it or not. What matters is, have we made them think? Did we make them feel something? Laugh? Cry? Did they go home and talk about it? Whether they liked it or not? That's the important thing. Have we touched them in some way? And that's always stuck with me. And I truly believe it.
Terry Veal, thank you for
Thank
being
you.
on This Town OKC. Wow. It's fun learning even more about you than I knew before.
Well, I don't think of myself as very interesting, but thank you for the kind words.
So, This Town OKC, sponsored by Carpenter Square Theatre. This has been a Lippert Media production.